Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Meuser, who is also a member of the House Financial Services and Small Businesses Committee. Always good to see you. Welcome in, Congressman Meuser.
Thank you, Bianca. Great to be with you.
Before we get to the economy and actually a highlight of someone from Pennsylvania who is benefiting from no tax on tips, breaking right now, President Trump just put out to social, sir, about some of the comments. Low IQ, he writes, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib screamed uncontrollably last night at the very elegant State of the Union. As you can see, Congressman Meuser, it's a long post, but in part he says they should actually get on a boat with Trump deranged Robert De Niro, another sick, demented person with, I believe, extremely low IQ, who has absolutely no idea what he is doing or saying, some of which is criminal. He goes on to talk about also crazy Rosie O'Donnell. What did you make of the pushback? You're in the chamber. You've got Omar and Rashida screaming. As President Trump says, it was a very elegant State of the Union. Hakeem Jeffries asked them for silent defiance. Well, apparently they couldn't do that.
Yeah. No, they couldn't do that. Of course not. Look, the speech, the address was very inspiring, right? It talked about where we were, where we are today, and where we're going. It had vision, it had a plan, and he's got the personnel and the perseverance to execute for the benefit of all America. And I think America saw that. And then, of course, you saw others like Abigail Spanberger, a former colleague, trying to tell people what to think. And this isn't really happening, and the president's not telling the truth. Well, the thing is this, numbers don't lie, but unfortunately many in the Democrat leadership do. The inflation rate under Biden was over 20% cumulative. Under President Trump, it's 2.4% cumulative. So a big difference. You know, they love to say, oh, he said high prices are a hoax. No, what he said was blaming it on him was a hoax. Everything they say is a misinterpretation, gaslighting, and Bianca, that's all they got. All they got is to try to undercut what we're working on and our results, and telling people don't believe it. They're not telling the truth, which of course we are, and most of America knows that.
The message from real Americans was important as well. I mean, obviously, there are people who are benefiting from no tax on overtime, no tax on tips. One of them, a Pennsylvania special guest, Megan Hemhouser, a resident of your state. Let's play this interaction here.
Yeah.
Happy to tell you that she is so much richer, because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and our expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half.
That's just one example. Do you think the message that was delivered last night is being felt by Americans? Was it effective enough, especially as we go into the midterms?
You know, I think so. The contrast is so dramatic. Democrats, all of them, voted against our tax bill, where every American every constituent of mine, 770,000 constituents, received some form of, in some cases, very significant tax relief. What he talked about as far as the results for America, safety, right? Crime is way down. National security, gas prices are down. There's more involvement in schools. We're calling out the anti-Semitism that existed. And by the way, Bianca, all of these things that were brought up by the president, the Democrats all sat on their hands. Maybe they didn't scowl, maybe they didn't boo. And of course, in some cases, a couple of their members screamed, but they wouldn't even clap for what we just saw there, a young lady who's very happy that she no longer has to pay tax on tips, who's very close to my district.
Congressman, President Trump is saying you have to pass a Stop Insider Trading Act, and he got a standing ovation even from Democrat Elizabeth Warren here. Nancy Pelosi, he took a swipe at, obviously a lot of controversial trading moves, and she reacted to that after the speech on CNN. This is what she had to say, and I'll get your reaction on the flip.
I say back to him, as that's what members said, look at your own self. The inference he wants to draw is there was something wrong with that, which there wasn't. And if there was, people get prosecuted for it.
There you have it. Do you support a Stop Insider Trading Act, first and foremost? And pretty interesting, he got to divide Pelosi and Warren there on that very issue.
Yeah, absolutely, I do. Look, insider trading is illegal. Just like it is on Wall Street, it's illegal here in Congress. I believe frankly, our ethics committee, there needs to be more enforcement. If Nancy Pelosi is sitting at a meeting where a company says, hey, we're about to invent this or come out with this new product, and a day later she or her husband is buying that stock, that's pretty clearly insider trading. But I do think that we need first of all, the rules need to be followed and enforced. I absolutely follow them. I think most members do. But we should bring those rules, reaffirm them, make them a little bit more strict, and also beef up the enforcement in our ethics committee, because I think in some cases they are being violated. Look at some of these numbers. There are some Democrats, by the way, one of which was yelling at the president last night, that came into Congress with basically $0 and now has like $20 million. Okay,
Ilhan
other people
Omar,
like myself
yes,
actually
course.
worked for a living for 25 years. Yeah. But anyway, that's why that should be
it sounds like there'll be more to come on that for sure. Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Meuser, always a pleasure to have you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us with your reaction to last night's historic speech there by President Trump. Thank you.
Thanks.